Hello, everyone. Welcome to COA. I am Maria Hagen, and I am the moderator for the all-college meeting, which we have once a week on Wednesdays at this time. And so I am running this also. And yeah, it's the one time in the week when we all get together and we can discuss issues and find out how the community is feeling about certain issues. And yeah, it's a great thing. You should all come. Just saying. So yeah, welcome everyone. It is my great honor to be able to introduce our alum speaker today. His name is John Deans, and he is a toxics campaigner for Greenpeace, which is fantastic. He has organized communities for Greenpeace's global warming campaign, and he was actually involved in the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change in Kenya and in Poland. So, please welcome John Deans.
Totally got to tweet this. Bam. Hashtag celebrate COA. Good afternoon. I've been asked here, amongst many things, to inspire you. And since inspire comes from the Latin to give breath, I thought we could all just take a deep breath together real quick. Just a quick inhale and exhale. Now consider yourselves inspired. Well, this is quite an honor for me. Thank you to Diane Clendaniel, our alumni coordinator, for inviting me, and for everybody else for letting that happen. I don't know how many people you asked before you got to me, but apparently our alumni are very busy. It seriously is a huge honor for me, since COA has meant so much to me over the years. And it's a huge honor to get to see all of you. Your brains are buzzing, about to dive into one of the best experiences of your lives. You all have such interesting stories. You all grew up somewhere. You all did some kind of school. You all have people you're connected to, events that have your own unique perspectives on, and ideas that you're sure of now and you'll throw away in years to come. Concepts you want to test. This is exciting stuff. Really exciting stuff, and I'm so honored to share in it even this little bit. So thank you for coming to COA, and thank you for not falling asleep while I talk to you. I also want to join the chorus and welcome you. First off, welcome to Maine. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Awesome. I grew up here, and I know all about why it's the greatest place on the earth. So you're all very lucky. Welcome to Mount Desert Island, a fascinating place where 3 massive bubbles of granite erupted out of the crust of the earth to create this incredibly interesting ecological system. Welcome to Bar Harbor, a community that decided they would host the unique learning environment here at COA to help pay the bills through the long, cold winter months. Thank goodness for them. Welcome to Acadia National Park, one of this nation's most visited and beloved sites. This is your home for however many years you're here. Make sure you take advantage of that. People go to great lengths all over the country and the world for even a few days or a week here, and you get hundreds of days here, so make sure to make the best of it. And you know, a special welcome to all of you from outside the U.S. This is a pretty big experience for you. COA touts that 20% of our students come from countries outside the United States. But the way I look at it is, for you 20%, doesn't that mean that you have to deal with all the 80% that are from places like New Jersey? Like your illustrious president. So make yourselves at home, because you're going to be here a while. When asked to talk at you fine people, I wasn't sure what I was going to be able to tell you, so I asked the alumni on the Facebook for some advice. I watched as a deep discussion exploded on that comment thread. My simple request for advice on what to tell you all quickly boiled over into debate on the level of privilege you all have to sit in this room, go to this school, and even dare to dream that you could use your experience here to make the world better. Eventually, I did get some advice from those who survived their degree in human ecology, but what gave me the wide grin was seeing that alumni cared less about my request and more about the opportunity to debate the finer points and challenge their peers and elders to consider their ideas differently. You might say each person had their own degree of difference. Some people will get that. That's what makes this place special. If you're sitting in class, you don't have to just accept what the professor has to say. You don't have to go along with what appears to be popular. You don't have to, you have your own ideas and you can put them out there. Keep in mind, though, just as you have your own ideas, so do your classmates, and even if the professor's ideas are bad, they've built up a strong defense for them, and you better be ready. This has massive implications in the world. Amongst my peers in the world, I often feel as though I get to walk around with a unique kind of freedom. My brain got wired here at COA to not accept the world at its face, to not just go along with the forces of inevitability, of political feasibility. I know there are exceptions to every rule, and that our humanity, compassion, and a just future lie in those exceptions. You're now entering the study of human ecology, and you will be pursuing that understanding for the rest of your lives. Human ecology's tagline is the study of the interactions between humans and the environment. I think more simply, human ecology is the study of everything. It really is. There's a quote by John Muir that is often used to describe ecology. It goes, "When we try to pick out anything by itself, we find it hitched to everything else in the universe." When we try to pick anything out by itself, we find it hitched to everything else in the universe. It's a pretty nice concept. Just think about that. Imagine picking up a stone from the ground and having it tied to everything around it. The air, the other stones, gravity, the dirt, which is tied to all the rest of the things on the planet, which is tied to the solar system, and then onto the universe. It's a big idea. When we try to pick out anything by itself, we find it hitched to everything else in the universe. Well, no disrespect to Mr. Muir. We certainly owe him many thanks for much of the environment that's been taken care of in this country and around the world, but I think he missed the target a little bit by a degree of difference. And that's where human ecology comes in. Muir said, when we try to pick out anything by itself, we find it hitched to everything else in the universe. But human ecology goes further. Human ecology says, when we try to pick out anything by itself, we find we are hitched to everything else in the universe. We are hitched to everything else in the universe. Whoa, yeah, you can keep doing that all you want. Or maybe a human ecologist would say, when we think about trying to pick out anything by itself, we find we are hitched to everything else in the universe. Or further still, before we can even think of trying to pick out anything by itself, we are hitched to everything else in the universe. But then, if we accept Descartes' "I think, therefore I am," then if we think about picking anything out by itself and we find we are hitched to everything else in the universe, then by that token we must be everything else in the universe. And if we are ourselves and everything else in the universe, then we must simply be everything. If we are everything, then we can't possibly disassociate ourselves from anything else. And in fact, the very concept of anything by itself cannot exist because it is everything. So then, how could we even think without that being what everything thinks, thus making the whole concept moot? That was a mouthful. But more often, I think the human ecology just says, nice universe. I'm a human ecologist. I really am. And that's something that I got here. And I couldn't be more proud or nervous about that statement. It's my compass as much as it's the magnet in my pocket. It's my blueprint as much as it's the cup of coffee spilling on those pages. It's my angel and devil. It's my hull as much as it's the leak that's filling my ship. It's my freedom as much as the cold steel bars that shatter the resolve of my palms. It's the constant whining vibration that keeps my thinking sharp and my concepts muddled. I didn't know much about Greenpeace when I started working there. Despite the fact that at the time I was a student here, Doreen Stupinski was a part-timer for the organization, I didn't know how or where it started. But when I looked into the history of the organization, I felt like I was in the right place. In autumn of 1971, the first handful of COA students had whatever their version of a convocation was at that time. And as my parents were getting ready for their wedding that November, crazy, right? And they're here today, which is wonderful. A small group of activists in Vancouver, Canada, were laying plans to set sail to protest nuclear testing in the Aleutian Islands, and thus Greenpeace was born. The thing that really hit me, though, was one of the first slogans Greenpeace ever used on a series of billboards said, "Ecology, look it up, you're involved." Which, I think that's what we're all about here, too. Ecology, look it up, you're involved. My first 2 weeks with Greenpeace, I spent getting trained on how to organize in a community. This was 2008, year of the Great Obama Campaign, and many key congressional seats, and our goal was to organize people in congressional districts to call for stronger action on climate change. It was an intense year. Here I was, not a year out of college, plunked down in Elmira, New York, totally on my own, talking to strangers on the street, getting them involved in our campaign, building a volunteer base from nothing, creating political power out of nowhere. I had at least one candidate for Congress and a chief of staff curse me out over the phone. "What the F are you doing? Greenpeace is supposed to be on our effing side. Blah, 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 you effing, whatever." I'll give you a hint. When a silly politician chews you out like that, you know that they're scared. And you know that this little band of ragtag activists is the reason they're scared, and you know you're making headway. Anyway, when this was all done and the election was over, I was reflecting on the previous 9 months, and I realized what I had done, what I'd been trained in, was nothing more than what everybody should be able to do. I knew that no matter what, I'd become a super citizen. I'd learned to use the tools of democracy to give some of the power back to the people. As I was reflecting on this speech, I was trying to figure out what was the overall lesson I learned here at COA. If being a trained community organizer just made me the citizen I ought to be, I realized being a COA student just made me the human being I ought to be. Look, the world is constantly suffering. Our species and the planet is tied to our perpetually facing destructive forces. This process is not new, but the nature of these threats are constantly morphing. In preparation for this speech, I reread a letter written on April 16th, 1963, by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., when he was jailed in Birmingham, Alabama. He was making a statement for why nonviolent action against an unjust law was necessary. His oft-quoted sentence from that letter was, "Injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere," or a threat to justice everywhere. Indeed, whether we like it or not, our fate is bound to the fate of others. Your presence on this planet will affect the presence of others. You are a drop of water added to the pond. Your ripples will touch those around you. And you do have the opportunity to direct your ripple in such a way that those touched by it will feel that the threat of injustice is lifted, even if ever so slightly, to make room for a better experience. And if you start choking up during public speaking, you know you're saying the right thing. Life lesson there. And I hope you do that. I hope you take the years you're investing here and make that investment work for a better world. In whatever way that is for you, I hope you continue the path. I do have some advice for you, gathered from myself and other alumni who wanted you to hear some things. Some of you sitting here have been very studious, good at school, diligent, academic focused. My advice to you is to work throughout these 4 years to pull your heads out of the books and have a look around. Go hiking, talk to someone new, get involved in COA governance or a group of your interest. If you spend your whole 4 years here focused solely on the academics, you will miss the forest for the trees. Some of you here have had no trouble up till now putting down the books for a game of Frisbee, an esoteric philosophical conversation, some amazing TV show about cooking methamphetamine, or riding your bike. I urge you to double down on the academics. Take advantage of really smart professors and fellow students. The content in COA courses is there for a reason. It's not frivolous. Learn to put the work in, and you'll reap the rewards. COA staff, not to you, but about you. Just because an employee of this college doesn't spend their time at the front of a class or grading papers doesn't mean you can't learn just as much from them. The people who keep this school running provide just as valuable education experiences as our esteemed professors. If you have a job on campus, pay attention. You're not just getting the pennies needed for ramen and the finest of lagers. You're getting a fantastic opportunity to learn real-world lessons. The skilled practitioners who keep this campus together taught me some of the most memorable lessons to this day. Do yourself a favor and get to know them. And treat them with respect because they're working their tails off for you. Go somewhere else if you can. Use the Eco League program. Design a project that takes you away from campus. Find a way to go away and come back. You'll be glad that you did. There's also a bunch of folks like myself that are strewn about as a COA diaspora. Tap into the alumni. There's a ton of them here on the island. There's a bunch of them. You can talk to Diane Clendaniel. Get in touch with us. We've been through the experience. We want to give back, and we don't make a lot of money. We are wealthy with time. Do something different. You're all good at something. Poetry, art, philosophy, science, history, public speaking, athletics, hunting, fishing, boating, juggling. Whatever it is, you know your passion right now and you know your skills. And that's great. Do those things. But I can tell you the greatest growing and learning I did here at COA were things I started out hating, feeling clumsy at, getting red and embarrassed over, being jealous of other people's aptitude. Go after those things. This is the time to explore. Really good at crunching numbers? Write a poem, learn how to draw, get in a play. You'll never have a better opportunity to do these things like you can here. More than anything, there's one element that holds this whole program together. With this, the professors and staff would be useless, and you would not have the education you will walk away with. I'd like to have you all do something if you would indulge me. I'd appreciate it if you all took a moment to take your adoring eyes off of me and look at the person to your right. That's great. Somewhere in your line of vision there's a person, so don't worry about it. Now look at the person to your left. You can see where this is going. Look at the person behind you, or the back of their head anyway. Now look at the back of the head in front of you. And keep looking around. You've been staring at me for 10 minutes. Throughout your time here, the best conversations, the biggest epiphanies, the hardest and most joyous moments will happen with these people and the rest of the students here. They'll be some of the best teachers you'll ever have. Treasure that. And treasure your whole experience here. You truly will get out of it what you put into it. Thank you so much for listening. Welcome, and do good work.
Not the only one crying there, John. Thank you so much. That was brilliant. Brilliant. Excellent. I'm going to take a short recess between talks, and I'd like to first recognize all people where this is the first experience that they have had here at the College of the Atlantic. You don't have to stand up, but I'd just like a round of applause for all first-year students, first-year staff, first-year faculty. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Last spring, we took some time to recognize the folks at the other extreme, those like Millard, who's been here since almost day one. And we have another cohort of people that we'd like to recognize that have been here and dedicated an enormous chunk of their living existence to this college. So as I call your name, if you are here, please stand up and hold your applause to the end. And these people are Laura Johnson, Gray Cox, Helen Hess, Davis Taylor, Karen Waldron, Pam Mitchell, Todd Little-Sebold, Brent Walton, Barbara Carter, Sherry Ford, Rosie Seton, Dave Feldman, Robert Nagel, Sean Todd, Jean Sylvia, Nancy Andrews, Ingrid Hill, Ken Hill, Robert Colson, Missy Cook, Bruce Hazem, class of 92, Bonnie Ty. Everyone, thank you so much for your work. Yeah. Thank you. Welcome again to the 43rd Convocation. 43rd. Did y'all get my email the other day about the map? You know, the map is all about looking ahead, trying to help us all come together to create what it is we want for September 5th, 2021. That'll be our 50th year. I talked to loads of people, and we're going to be spending a lot of time on this coming year. And in a lot of these discussions I've had already, I've gotten this point made to me, and it starts like this. They say, "Darren, don't take this the wrong way." And you know, when anyone says something like that, you know, pay attention. Darren, don't take this the wrong way. I mean, you're a great president. You think, you know, you listen very well, and that's really good. But I think, again, this is more than one person, it would be great to hear from you at what would you like the place to look like by 2021. Don't be afraid to take more of a forward step and explain what you'd like this place to look like. So it's a little scary, but I'm taking their advice, and that's what this talk is going to be all about. Now, this is hard because look at what we've got here. You know, when I was sitting in your shoes, it was September 7th, 1988. The whole place had burned down 5 years ago. And look what we have now in terms of the quality of people, our own campus, our islands, our farms, that unbelievable incoming class. We have a balanced budget. We have an endowment. We have made unbelievable strides. So, you know, part of people say, well, don't change anything, it's okay, keep going on, you know, go on this path that you're on. And it would be easy to do that, but I think we all recognize there's also room for improvement. And some of these things are obvious front and center needs, and I'm not going to spend much time on them today, but they're extremely important. Faculty and staff salary, we know that we have to pay our people more. Retirement. We're getting older. We need to be able to give people the resources so they can retire comfortably. Name recognition. We want the world to know about the College of the Atlantic. These are all crucial things, but that's not what I'm focusing on today. I'm focusing on 8 things, okay? My message is 8 pieces long from here on out. First, internal communication. Now, I'm not a Luddite. I am not overly nostalgic. I actually really like little gadgets and toys. But the way this college relies on email is killing us. It's absolutely killing us. It's tearing apart the very fabric of this society. And I am the first, and maybe the worst at this. I counted. We're 253 days into the year. I've written 9,752 emails. So if you ever want to know whose fault it is, look no further than right here. But it's not just email, it's language in general. On Sunday, I gave an address to the first years, and I was excited, and I was going, and I'd been allotted 15 minutes, and I spoke for 45 minutes. 45 minutes. Now, I thought it was pretty good, but we need to reduce the quantity of information and increase the quality of language, and that needs to happen at the same time where we increase the amount of face-to-face contact. That's number 1. Make sense? All right, thank you. I just talked with Stephen in Tab. There are 185 mugs in Take a Break right now. 185. Now let's assume 15% fall and they break. That's fine. That happens. By the end of this term, let's make a commitment right here and now that there will be at least 150 mugs in our storage. Okay? Does that make sense? Let's do it. Do it. And we know this isn't about mugs. Although it is about mugs, it's not about mugs. It's about the struggle between being an individual and being part of a community. My mom is currently at home smoking herself to death. I have a really hard bias against smoking, but hey, smoking is also a personal right. Cigarette butts? Not a personal right when they're all over the ground. Let's not stand for it. Missing art materials that are up in our studio spaces, not appropriate. It's got to stay there. Time, being late, can't be late. Now, I'm not trying to be a disappointed father because I know I exhibit all of those same qualities. But also think about the relationship that we make between people. Between men and women, between women and women and men, when we meet each other from a casual conversation to the most intimate experience, let us start from a position of respect. Okay? By 2021, I want every decision we make to have it run through your head, what's the impact on other people's persons and on other people's times. That's absolutely critical. It starts with mugs, right? Number 3. Number 3 is about making. We need to make more things on this campus. We need to make more things. Now, this is a little difficult for me to do, but I am making a walking cane. Actually, I've been told by an elderly gentleman, it is never a cane, it is always a walking stick. I am making a walking stick for one of my older friends. I'm not very good at it. Not very good at it, and where's Mr. Deans is here. Mr. Deans is going to help us recover that. Not John, but George, his father. So this morning, I was sitting on my porch like this. This is a rasp. I've bled my fingers to death. There is blood ingrained inside of this. But I came across a new way to use this rasp. Now I marked here where I need space, and I noticed that instead of going across like this, that if I move the rasp down as I move it across, I get really beautiful. Oh, hold on. Sorry. Really beautiful wedges of wood. See that? See that? Now, I could have called George Deans this morning, and he could have explained that to me like that. But the process of me trying to figure it out on my own, so much better. We need to make more things because we can achieve a more humane material life if only we better understand the making of things. That is Richard Sennett. So by 2021, I want the students that come here to be interested in making. I want our academic curriculum, whether that's about computer programming, whether it's about brushes, whether it's about building, whether we're using hammers, soldering irons, or computers, I want us to have the space and the place to do that. It's my dream that by 2021, we will have a new arts and design center. And Andy's probably falling over in his seat right now. But we need more space for our labs, we need more space for our workshops, we need more space for studios, and I think now is the time to do it. That's number 3. All right. Number 4, and this is again the time thing, I know, so I'm trying to go quicker. All right, communication, number 1. We need to focus more on writing. Writing. No matter what you do in the world, you're going to have to write about it, and you're generally going to have the analytical thought embedded in your head to be able to put together a well-worded sentence, and you're going to have to be able to stand up and speak those words. We've been doing this really well. I think we are, generally speaking, excellent writers and great communicators, but we have to do it more thoughtfully. We have to do it across all 4 years so that by the time anyone graduates, they have excellent skill in both writing and oral communication. Number 5. Where's the click on that one? That's not good? Okay, go. Number 5. I want people, just like John mentioned, to participate in the culture of creating the College of the Atlantic. This process of continuously recreating the college is a unique value proposition of coming to the College of the Atlantic. But I do not believe that new rules and policies are always the way to do it. I am in love with the Nordstrom 4-word personnel manual that reads, so imagine you start your job at Nordstrom's and your boss says, okay, here's the personnel manual. It's 4 words, and it says, use your best judgment. That's what it is. Now, I know we're not a high-end clothing store, and I know it was probably a lot easier to do this in 1972 with 36 students than it is with 360 students, which is what we have today. But I don't have the answers to that, but I know it's part of who we are, right? John also mentioned this. There's great alignment. Thank you, John. We spend way too much time inside. Note, and this is a bias of mine. I recognize it. But again, this is me saying what I want. I think we favor human-dominated social experience over being outside. Now, I know not everyone wants to walk the Appalachian Trail or climb El Capitan. Some people are not comfortable being outside. I'm not interested in creating a culture of rock jocks who climb for adrenaline, but I want people who want to at least go outside to be able to explore themselves and explore the world around them, because I don't believe there's any other way better to do that. I think this begins with everyone spending time on Great Duck Island and on Mount Desert Rock. I believe this is everyone learning how to tie a trucker's hitch, to be able to row a dory and get out in a Zodiac, to be able to find Connor's Nubble and Maple Spring by foot or by ski or snowshoe or bicycle, to be able to build a snow cave or light a fire in the pouring rain or get unlost with a map and compass, to be able to tell the difference between a Romney and a Katahdin sheep, to be able to tell the difference between a ginger gold and a Honeycrisp apple, a Norway maple and a red maple, an alewife and an elver. This isn't about like the macho, we need to be all Neanderthals. You know, this is not what it's about. But I think who we are as a college has a lot to do with where we are. And this is about getting outside to understand where we are. So to do this, a week from today, I am organizing a Trans-Island walk that begins from the college campus right here at the community gardens and ends in Seal Cove. So you'll hear more about that. I'm almost done. 2 more things to do. Field courses. This week, 16 students, Jay Friedlander and Anna Demio, are on Samso Island. Samso's 60 miles east of Copenhagen. It's about 45 square miles. About 4,000 people live there. They're doing a monster class out there on energy sustainability, looking how Samso has gone to complete diesel dependence to complete fossil fuel independence. They will be joined by a COA alum, which is great, David Camlin, by a staffer, Anna Demio, by staff from the Island Institute, our new partner, from 5 community members that live out on the outer islands here in the Gulf of Maine, and hopefully by a New York Times reporter, if Bob is going to come through with that. Thanks, Bob. Now, there are many other classes that are models of this, but this is a particularly good one, and let's call it a field-based course or a place-based course. The keys here, I want more of these classes, more of these types of classes, because they get new faculty members together who haven't worked together. They incorporate the knowledge of staff. They are project-based, right? They are project-based where the project has real meaning for local people right here in the Gulf of Maine. It brings the wider world right down here to the Gulf of Maine and Mount Desert Island. It's interdisciplinary. It features Nick Urban. Does everyone know Nick? So Nick Urban is a senior this year. He's a leader in that course, and Nick is like drooling for this class. He's so excited about it. It's interdisciplinary. It will spawn a whole bunch of other independent studies, internships, etc. It's so great. Now, it's also, as we found out, as the faculty and staff found out, very hard to manage and very expensive. It brings a lot of people off campus, and that shifts the responsibilities of people on campus. So, although I want to do more of these things, because I believe strongly that this is the core of who we are, we have to do it appropriately and with balance. Last but not least, there's reinvention. And it all starts in 6th grade. I was a 6th grader at Mount Tabor Elementary School. I was just finished with the most epic Dungeons & Dragons campaign I had ever been on. Epic. I had gone down to the Kmart on Route 10. I was with my friend, Brian Frumalt. And Brian, we just got into records. We were into records. You know, most students don't even know what a record is. Record, big thing, about this big, plays music. Brian brought Magical Mystery Tour, right? Great album. I pulled out this album. It didn't have a title on it, but it opened up. I was looking at it, and we got back to his home, and I lifted the needle. That's actually what makes the music go, right? And I put it down. This is what I heard. That song changed my life. It really did. When I heard that, I was a different person. In June, I read this review of Led Zeppelin had just re-released the first 3 albums. It was in Slate magazine, and if I ever teach a course, that is required reading material for sure. But the centerpiece was that Led Zeppelin changed the world more than any other band because it kept reinventing itself. So you heard the first album, you heard the second album, and you were like, that's Led Zeppelin. But you also went, that's Led Zeppelin? So it was complete reinvention over and over again. And the best line was, modern rock didn't start with the Beatles or Bob Dylan, it started with Led Zeppelin. And when I read that, and again, only because I've loved this band since I was 11, but I get chills. That would be the line that makes me cry, John, sorry. In higher education, this process of shaking up and reinvention is absolutely crucial. That's what this MAP practice is all about. We're starting from an absolutely amazing foundation. It's a great time to think about what we want to do and what we want to be in 2021. So let's say that modern higher education didn't start with Harvard or Williams. It started with College of the Atlantic, and we're about to release the 4th album. So thank you. So, John, again, thank you so much for coming. Give John a hand. Like he said, we have 2,000 alumni out there now. A big part of who we are the Johns, are the alumni. And frankly, they're the me too, because I'm 1992, right? But anyway, suffice to say that in 46 minutes, that was pretty good, we have officially opened the 43rd academic year of the College of the Atlantic. And to close us out, get up here and let's go through some announcements. Maria.